Hello, my name is Jamie and welcome to this week's tutorial. This week we're going to be looking at a bit of modelling, doing a bit of organic modelling, nothing too complicated, just a simple, I've got a blob with two arms and two legs here. I was talking in the CG cookie chat earlier today. There's a guy that said he'd be happy with just a modelling tutorial on how to model a blob with two arms and two legs. So I figured, why the hell not? I will go ahead and do that. So yeah, this is the quick concept that I threw together. We're gonna have a go at modelling him, just for the sake of sort of keeping the tutorials a relatively short pace. I will probably do most of the body today, and then next week we'll go on and do all the arms and legs and make it look a bit nicer. So we'll get straight into it. I've got this image here. I've just got this off on the side from my Blender window so I can see what's going on. It's not exactly an orthographic image, so there's no point in using it as a background image or anything. I've just got that off on the side. I'll probably put a link up for you to download that if you really want to. So to start off, go into the front view and hit 5 on the numpad to get out of perspective. And with this just default cube, go into edit mode with tab and then Control R and left click to create an edge loop that's going down the center of the cube, and I'll just right click to let that settle in the middle. I'll just quickly hit Z and then A to deselect everything, and B for box select, and I'm just clicking and dragging and selecting those vertices on the left there. And I'll hit X and delete vertices, and then we can go to the modifiers and bring in a mirror modifier. Now I'm not going to use this option here. You can if you like to use it. I personally find it's better just to not, because even though it does sort of display everything that was going on, if I select the vertex here, you can see it's all selected here, and if I hit G to move, you see the vertex on the right follows my mouse movement and the vertex on the left is mirrored. However, because you can also use the mirrored image to select, when you hit G, it's not going to move as you expect because it's transforming the vertex that's sort of the original vertex that's on the original side, not the mirrored vertex. So it sort of gets confusing when you're trying to transform on this side. It's easy just to focus on the one side. And as you can see, when you turn it off, you get a nice preview of what's going to be happening and how the model is going to look whilst out of edit mode. I will turn on clipping, and that just prevents any vertices from moving off the center plane, so that's quite useful. Best thing to do to get started is just start. So I might even add in 2 edge loops here, so just using the scroll wheel after Control R, and I'll in wireframe mode using Z, just sort of start shaping everything and getting that blob shape going. And then I'll go into side mode or side view and just bring the front and back in, just sort of get it to a more reasonable sort of depth. So now I'll use Control R again to bring in another edge loop, and I'll even just start bringing in everything, and if you hit S and then Y, you can bring things in closer together like that. I'm just scaling in there with the two outer edges selected, or vertices even, and just sort of bringing in those outside shapes. So now this is sort of gotten thinner than I wanted it to be, so I'll start bringing that out a bit more again. And getting the right sort of shape. If I move that down a bit, and then bring in another edge loop along the middle, just to keep everything at a sort of a consistent size. It's a good idea to keep the polygons at around about the same size as you're working, so it's sort of a good way to focus on slowly detailing the entire model rather than just detailing one little area and then getting it really detailed, and you're going to have all these edges going off that are just completely ruining the rest of your model, and it's going to take a long time to fix rather than just sort of a slow detailing process. So let's bring that in a bit. We'll start off with the eyes and getting the general shape for them in place. So this polygon here will make a good one, and I'll just select this entire polygon, the 4 vertices on it, and E to extrude, and I'll right click to cancel that extrusion, the transformation, and hit S to scale and bring it in. And now we've got this sort of eye area, and I'm going to add in an edge loop that's quite close to the middle, and then I'm going to select all of these and get rid of all of those. What I did just there was with the box select, if you use middle click, it deselects everything that's going on in the box. So, and then I can go Control E and edge slide and just sort of even out the rest of those vertices. I just want a bit more polygon sort of in between the two eyes themselves, and then I can select these and I'll just extrude, and that'll be sort of the beginnings of the eyelid, and I'll just select all that and start to move it in. So as you can see here, he's got quite big eyes, so make sure there's plenty of room for that. And I'll add in an edge loop here again that crosses between sort of the middle of the eye, so we've got more to play with, and start shaping the eyes into sort of round shapes. We're not looking for perfection at all yet, just sort of getting the right shapes in the right places, and Control E and edge slide, and sort of give that top of the head a bit of a curve. That's quite nice. And then down here, just fix up all that and make it look okay. And I'll probably bring those in. And it's already starting to look a bit square at the back because we've added a few edge loops in, so that's okay. Just sort of start bringing those in. You can even hit O and then use the scroll wheel to bring down the influence on that proportional edit, and that can just sort of help you keep everything a bit rounded and smooth. So a little bit of that. That looks okay. So we'll add in a mouth next, the mouth sort of area, And as you can see, he's got quite a big mouth stretching across the entire head. So we'll probably want this edge here to be sort of the corner of the mouth. That's one of two ways. We could separate these edges and then hit V, bring that out, but that's not probably the best solution. What we'll do is I'll select this edge loop, and as you can see I've got it all selected around there, and do Control E and edge slide up, and I'll select these three faces here and hit E to extrude, right click and then scale down a little bit, and what that gives us is this edge loop around here that we can use, and just delete those faces, and I'll just scale that edge a bit, scale that edge a bit and bring it out. And so now we've got that mouth shape. We can sort of go into verticing mode and get the general shape of a mouth. You can sort of decide how you want the mouth to look. The shape here is a fairly human shape. You may just want to not go with that. You might want to go more with what the concept has, and it's just sort of a fairly rounded shape that's going all the way around. So to sort of achieve that, I might go like this. And so that's sort of more the shape of the mouth that's in the reference, and then I'll bring that back and start getting the actual mouth shape in 3 dimensions now. Bring those ones out, and that, and then that. And bring those out a bit more. We got that looking like that, so that looks okay. Now you could, if you wanted, sort of block in the arms and legs now. I'm not going to. What I'll start by doing is using this polygon here to make the nose, so I'll extrude that out, let it come out a bit, and that's probably come out a bit far, but that's okay. Move that up there, and then move that up there, and he's got an upturned nose, so we'll get that shape by sort of doing that. You can decide on how big you want it to be. And it's always good to remember there are no set rules when you're modelling something like this, or pretty much anything. Especially with organics, you just sort of find the shapes that feel right, and let them happen. Don't feel like you're forced to follow all my movements exactly, because I've done a couple of trial runs of this model and they all look slightly different, but they do look like the actual reference image that's going on. So I'll do a little bit more. I'll go and head and hit Control 2, and that adds 2 levels of subsurf to the model. And then in the side here, shading smooth with everything selected. We can sort of get an idea of how the model's starting to look. We can see that it's starting to pinch a bit in the middle there. That's okay. We'll add in the lips. So bring those out a bit, bring that corner in, and that's just using right click again to select the entire lips, and that's just sort of Needs a bit more tweaking maybe. Okay, and then I'll extrude and right click and then scale on the Z a bit, and then bring them in quite a bit on the Y, and then a little bit on the X. And it's sort of looking a bit gummy and weird at the moment, but what we're actually going to do is add in another edge loop, and that's going to be sort of the end of the lips. So select that first extrusion we just did, and then scale, hit S and then Z, and actually bring it up, and that can sort of become the beginning of what would be the mouth cavity. And then depending on how much detail and how real you want the lips to look, I'm going to add in another edge loop, scale it in Z a little bit to sort of get a bit more rounded, and then add an edge loop here and just bring it in all the way, and to give a bit of definition to the outside edge of the lips, and just start to transform those to make them look okay. And the corner of the mouth is probably going to need a little bit of cleanup. This needs to come in. Okay, and we don't need that to be anywhere near there. It's starting to look okay now. Just select these two, scale them down a bit, and bring them back and out. I've just got this big lip shape going on. Now, as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking I want it to be a bit more rounded again. So, I'm just going to add in this edge loop here, and do a scale on the Z again. That just sort of gives me a bit more definition. Let's bring it out on the Y, down a bit on the Z, and then scale this one up on the Z a bit more. Yeah, that looks okay for this. Now what I'm thinking is I need to move probably most of this section up a bit, just so that it's sort of this distance is a bit more similar to that distance. So I'll just do that. So I'll just select that entire bottom section like that and bring it up a bit just to match the reference. And if you sort of get this sort of view, you can see the shape of the lips and if they need any fixing and stuff like that. And I think I'll leave the eyes till next week, just to keep this one a bit short. I'll just add in a couple of edge loops here. That's sort of where I'll start the definition and begin shaping them into eyeballs. Bring that up a bit. So we've got the beginnings of an eye shape there. So yeah, that's part one of modelling a blob with arms and legs. You can feel free to continue detailing, and even if you want to try adding in some arms and legs, if you feel confident you can, go ahead. So hopefully you found this a bit useful, and until next week, where we'll continue on where we left off. Good luck and have fun.